The chamber of the Galactic Council was unlike anything humans had ever seen. It was built inside a giant hollowed asteroid that floated between two suns, its ceiling made of shining crystal, so that every star of the galaxy glittered above. Hundreds of alien species gathered here, each sitting in their own section. Some were tall and covered in silver scales. Others had wings that folded close to their bodies, and some were just glowing orbs of light that pulsed whenever they spoke. The air hummed with tension, voices overlapping in 100 different languages, all translated by machines into one common speech. At the center of this chamber stood a massive round platform. This was where the most urgent matters of the galaxy were debated. Today the debate was about survival. The council leader, a towering figure with skin like burning embers, raised his staff. The hall went silent. His deep voice echoed through the chamber. The threat is real. The darkness from beyond the spiral arm is moving closer. Its fleets burn through systems without pause. They do not trade. They do not speak. They only consume. If they are not stopped, everything we built will end. The words sent a ripple of fear through the chamber. Civilizations that had stood for 10,000 years shivered at the thought of extinction. Alien voices broke out again, filled with panic. "They destroyed my people's outer colonies already," shouted a representative covered in ice-blue fur. "We must surrender before they reach us," said another, trembling with antennae shaking. "No!" roared a scaled warrior, slamming his claw against the stone. "We fight, but not alone. We need allies. We need them." At the word them, the chamber turned toward a smaller platform at the edge. There, standing calmly, was the human delegation. Compared to the other species, they looked fragile, just flesh and bone, no scales, no wings, no armored hides. They were the youngest species in the council, barely a century into spaceflight. Many aliens still considered them children playing among stars, yet here they were, called into the center of the galaxy's greatest crisis. The council leader's ember eyes turned toward the humans. "Earth," he said slowly, his voice full of doubt. "We request your aid. Will you stand with us against the darkness?" A heavy silence filled the room. Everyone expected hesitation, maybe even refusal. Humanity was small, their fleets tiny compared to ancient empires. What could they possibly offer? The aliens waited, ready to laugh, ready to mock. The human ambassador stepped forward. He was an older man, gray at the temples, his suit plain compared to the glittering robes and armor of the others. His hands rested on the podium as he studied the crowd. He did not rush. He let the silence stretch, building the weight of every second. The council leader finally broke the tension. "Do you understand the scale of what we ask? The enemy will not stop until every star is ash. Even we, greater and older than you, cannot stand against it. What do you say, Earth?" All eyes locked on the human. Translators waited. Recorders blinked red. Billions across the galaxy would watch this reply. The man leaned forward, his eyes calm but sharp. Then, in a voice steady and unshaken, he gave humanity's answer. It was not a long speech. It was not a promise or a warning. It was a single word. When the translators repeated it into 100 tongues, the chamber froze. No one moved. No one breathed. The sound of it carried more power than 1,000 speeches. Gasps echoed through the chamber. Some alien leaders stood in shock. Others whispered, their scales and feathers trembling. "Impossible," hissed one. "Arrogance," shouted another. "Or madness," muttered a third. But the human ambassador did not take the word back. He simply repeated it, louder this time. The sound struck the chamber like a thunderclap. For the first time in 1,000 years, the Galactic Council had no response. The oldest empires, the wisest races, the strongest fleets, all left speechless by the simplest reply. The ember-skinned leader's staff shook in his hand. His deep voice cracked as he whispered, "What kind of people answer like that?" The human only stared back, silent now, but his eyes carried a fire the galaxy had never seen before. and though the chamber was filled with hundreds of species, in that moment every one of them felt the same unsettling thought rise in their minds. Perhaps humanity was not as weak as they had believed. The chamber did not return to normal after the humans' reply. For several heartbeats the silence was heavy, pressing against the ears of every being present. Creatures with 6 eyes blinked all at once. Winged delegates twitched their feathers nervously. Even the machines, those cold and logical AI civilizations, paused, as if unsure how to process the word. It was just one word. Simple. Short. But it carried weight that none of them could measure. The council leader gripped his burning staff and leaned forward. His ember eyes glowed brighter, trying to read the human ambassador's expression. Do you understand what you just said? His voice was tight, almost breaking. The translator repeated the human's reply again, clear in every alien tongue. It was unmistakable. No error. No mistranslation. Humanity's response was final. Across the chamber, voices rose, uncertain and panicked. "They mock us," shouted a creature with silver horns. "Such arrogance from a young race," hissed another with scaled lips. "They don't even comprehend what is coming. This is madness." But there were others who didn't shout. They only stared. Silent, thoughtful, unsettled. Because deep inside they knew the word was not spoken carelessly. Humans were strange. Unpredictable. Unlike any other species that had ever joined the council, one delegate, an insectoid scholar from the hive worlds, leaned toward her neighbor and whispered, "Do you not remember their wars? Their survival? On a death world planet, they endure storms, quakes, poison skies, and still they rise." Another, a crystalline being who had lived for millennia, pulsed with light. "They have lost everything many times, yet rebuild in decades what would take us centuries. Perhaps this word is not arrogance. Perhaps it is truth." The arguments grew louder, the chamber split in two, some jeering at humanity, others whispering warnings. Meanwhile, the human ambassador did not move. His hands rested calmly on the podium. His face betrayed nothing but quiet certainty. His silence was more powerful than the shouts around him. He didn't explain, didn't justify. He had given the word, and for him, that was enough. The council leader slammed his staff, sending sparks across the platform. "Enough!" he roared, and the voices fell into uneasy quiet. He turned his gaze back to the humans. "If this is your answer, then prove it. The darkness devours fleets 10 times larger than yours. Worlds fall in hours. What power do you possess that grants you such boldness?" Still, the ambassador did not give a speech. He only repeated the same word, steady, unshaken. Gasps filled the chamber once more. Even those who mocked now hesitated. The courage in the human's voice was undeniable. In the shadows of the council dome, a group of observers, silent watchers from older empires, spoke quietly among themselves. This is how humans always are," said one. "Their history is filled with impossible stands." "Foolish stands," corrected another. "And yet, they win." The first observer nodded slowly. "They win because they never accept defeat. That word they speak, it is not just a reply, it is their nature." News of the human reply spread like wildfire beyond the chamber. Across the galaxy, billions watched the broadcast. On distant mining stations, alien workers paused their machines to replay the message. On pleasure worlds, rulers leaned forward in their thrones, eyes narrowing at the boldness of Earth. Merchant fleets whispered among themselves, debating if humanity had some secret weapon. But ordinary citizens, farmers on barren moons, children, under alien skies felt something else. The word stirred something deep, something old and forgotten. Hope. Back in the chamber, suspicion still burned. A hulking reptilian general snarled, his claws scratching the stone floor. Hope does not win wars. Steel does. Fire does. They will doom us all with their childish confidence. But another voice rose, soft, yet firm. It belonged to a frail, amphibian elder who had served in the council for 300 years. "Do you not see?" he asked, his wide eyes reflecting the starlight above. "When we begged for help, we trembled. When they replied, they did not. They fear the enemy less than they fear surrender. That is power." The words sank into the chamber, leaving many unsettled. The ember-skinned leader studied the humans, one last time. "Very well," he said, voice low and heavy. "Your word has been spoken. The galaxy will hold you to it. May your species be ready for what comes." The meeting ended, but the echo of that one word lingered in the air. Delegates left in silence, carrying fear, anger, or secret admiration back to their worlds. The chamber's lights dimmed, but the galaxy itself seemed brighter, burning with the question now on every tongue. What could humans possibly mean? What did they know that the others did not? And how could one word, so small, so simple, shake the hearts of civilizations older than stars? The answer remained hidden for now. But across the void, humanity was already moving. While the council dissolved into chaos, Earth fell silent. No speeches were made, no declarations broadcast. Humanity simply began to move. Across the planet, hidden bases lit up. Satellites once thought useless came alive with strange signals. Factories that once built cars and farming machines suddenly shifted to another purpose, building parts no outsider had ever seen. In orbit, small human ships moved back and forth like ants carrying supplies. They were not grand or beautiful, like the starships of older races. They were rough, sharp-edged, patched together with strange designs. To alien eyes, they looked primitive. To humans, they were something else entirely. Practical. From the moons of Jupiter to the underground bunkers of Mars, humans worked day and night. Engineers welded under sparks that showered like stars. Soldiers trained in harsh simulations that mimicked death itself. Scientists bent over glowing screens, running numbers that most civilizations had abandoned as impossible. But what disturbed the galaxy most was the secrecy. The Council sent spies. Alien drones drifted in Earth's orbit, cloaked in shadows. Hired informants crept into human colonies disguised as traitors. They expected fear, or at least desperation. Instead, they saw calm determination. One spy reported in disbelief. "They do not argue. They do not panic. Every one of them works as if the outcome is already decided. It is unsettling," another whispered to his handler. "I saw children drawing pictures of starships. They laughed while the adults worked. They are not preparing to survive. They are preparing to win." The report spread quickly. Some laughed, saying humans were delusional. Others grew quiet, worried. Could it be that the one word they gave the council was not just bravado, but a plan? On Earth, the preparations only grew stranger. Instead of building massive fleets like other empires, humans focused on unusual designs. Small ships with hidden compartments, machines that seemed too fragile for battle, strange energy readings that no one could decipher. In the desert of Nevada, a vast hangar opened to reveal a ship unlike any before. Its hull was black, absorbing light, as if it drank the stars themselves. Around it, teams of men and women moved with disciplined silence, testing weapons that no alien spy had words to describe. Meanwhile, on the far side of the moon, another project stirred. Huge solar arrays unfolded like metallic flowers, catching sunlight and redirecting power deep underground. Rumors spread that humans were creating something massive, something hidden beneath the lunar soil. The council grew impatient. They demanded answers. The human ambassador, once again called before the chamber, listened to their cries. "Tell us your plan," they begged. "What are you building?" they demanded. "Do you even understand the threat?" They shouted, but the ambassador only smiled faintly and repeated the same word as before. The chamber shook with fury. Delegates slammed claws, wings, and fists against the stone floor. But inside, Fear was spreading. Humans were not explaining themselves, and that made them dangerous. Some empires began to whisper about betrayal. What if the humans plan to let the darkness come and then rise from our ashes? What if they aim not to save us but to replace us? The paranoia grew. Old rivalries flared. Some even considered striking Earth before its mysterious plan could be finished. But when their fleets drew near, something strange happened. The humans allowed them to approach. They did not raise shields. They did not hide their activity. They simply broadcast one signal across the stars. A steady heartbeat-like pulse. Slow, calm, unafraid. The approaching fleets hesitated. For reasons they could not explain, they turned back. Back on Earth, humans carried on. Farmers delivered food to soldiers without complaint. Artists painted murals of battles that had not yet happened, as if the outcome was already written. Children played war games and spoke of victory as though it was certain. An alien spy disguised as a mechanic on Mars sent a final message before vanishing. They believe, every single one of them. Not just the soldiers, not just the leaders. The old, the young, the weak, the strong. They all live by that word now. If belief alone could win wars, the humans have already won. The galaxy trembled. For millennia, the oldest civilizations believed power lay in fleets, weapons, numbers. But humans were showing something else, something terrifying in its simplicity. The one word they gave was no longer just a reply. It was a living thing, woven into every action, every invention, every heartbeat of Earth. The Council could not understand it. The spies could not explain it. And yet, as the shadow of the coming enemy grew larger in the night sky, the galaxy began to sense the truth. Humanity was not waiting for rescue. Humanity was not preparing to die. They were preparing to shock the universe. At first, it was only a whisper in the deep void, strange signals captured by the galaxy's oldest listening posts. Then came the reports. Colonies vanished. Entire systems burned out in hours. Merchant fleets that had sailed for centuries sent frantic distress calls, then fell silent. The darkness had arrived. From the edge of the spiral arm, the enemy came, like a tide of nightmares. Their ships were nothing like the elegant designs of the Council races. They were jagged, monstrous things, half living, half machine, consuming everything in their path. They didn't use communication channels. They didn't parley. They only advanced, leaving ashes behind. On 1,000 worlds, fear spread faster than light. Civilians hid underground. Armies scrambled fleets into formation. The Council called emergency meetings every day, each more desperate than the last. Yet despite their vast fleets and millennia of experience, the ancient empires faltered. A proud, avian species launched 1,000 warships into the void. Within 2 days, not a single ship remained. A crystalline armada unleashed weapons that could split moons, but the enemy consumed the fragments as if feeding on destruction itself. The oldest AI civilization, known for logic without flaw, shut itself down entirely rather than face what was coming. The galaxy shook. Civilizations that had once laughed at humanity now screamed for help. But Earth remained strangely calm. On their homeworld, cities glowed not with fear, but with activity. On Mars, launch pads thundered, with the rise of ships black and sharp like knives. In the shadows of the moon, something vast began to stir beneath the regolith, its shape hidden, but its power undeniable. Aliens who spied on these movements whispered in terror. "They are not afraid," one reported, voice trembling. "They act as if this was always meant to happen," another said. The Council gathered once again, voices rising with panic. The fleets fall before they even engage. "We cannot stop this storm. Earth, what will you do? What is your plan?" The human ambassador stood, his gray hair catching the dim light of the chamber. His expression did not change. His reply was the same word, spoken again with steady calm. Gasps filled the chamber. The arrogance, the madness. Yet deep inside, many felt a spark of something they had not known in years. Belief. The storm drew closer. Whole sectors blinked off the maps. The enemy fleet moved like a black wave, covering the stars, drowning constellations in shadow. It reached the edge of Council space, and the first of their core worlds braced for annihilation. On the day the darkness struck, billions watched the skies. The invaders fell upon a Council stronghold with fire and hunger, overwhelming defenses in minutes. The alien defenders fought bravely, but their fleets broke like glass against stone. And then, humanity moved. From the dark side of the moon, something vast rose. A fortress ship powered by arrays that caught the sun itself unfolded its wings of steel. Smaller human ships darted around it like hunters, vanishing and reappearing in strange maneuvers the enemy could not predict. The Council, watching in disbelief, saw humans do the unthinkable. They didn't form massive walls of ships like the older empires. They struck in silence. Small squadrons cut deep into enemy lines, tearing apart monstrous hulls from within. Their black fortress pulsed with energy, not firing one giant beam but hundreds of precise strikes, each one breaking the enemy in ways no alien weapon ever had. Reports screamed across the galaxy. The humans are engaging them directly. They're not retreating, they're advancing. What are they doing? How are they doing this? The enemy howled, its endless swarm shifting toward Earth's fleets. But the humans moved as if they had been waiting for this moment their entire history. Every maneuver was exact, every strike deliberate. Where other species panicked, humans adapted. Where others collapsed, humans endured. A young Council delegate watching through trembling hands whispered, "It's as if they were born for this war." On Earth, civilians gathered around screens watching their fleets fight. They did not weep. They did not beg. They stood tall, repeating the word their ambassador had spoken, whispering it like a prayer. It echoed through homes, streets, and bunkers. It was no longer just a reply. It was a promise, binding an entire species together. And in the Council chamber, for the first time in living memory, the other empires fell silent, not in fear of the enemy, but in awe of humanity. The storm had come. The galaxy trembled, but humanity did not. The enemy swarm stretched across the void, a tide of black steel and burning fire. Countless ships pressed forward, blotting out the stars themselves. Worlds shook under their shadow. Ancient civilizations whispered their last prayers. But at the edge of the battlefield, humanity did not falter. The black fortress ship from the moon pulsed with light, releasing wave after wave of precision strikes. Human fleets cut in and out like wolves among giants. Their ships were smaller, weaker, but they moved with a strange rhythm, almost like one mind, one heartbeat, one will. The Council watched in silence. They had seen their own fleets crumble, but now, against all reason, the humans stood. Not only stood, they advanced. The ember-skinned Council leader, once furious at Earth's arrogance, leaned forward, his glowing eyes wide. They are not retreating. Indeed, the humans pressed deeper into the storm, their tactics unpredictable. One squadron dove straight into the center of the swarm, vanishing into the darkness. For a moment, all seemed lost. But then, flashes lit up from within. Explosions spread like fire through dry grass. Human ships emerged from the other side, scarred but alive, leaving the enemy's core vessels in ruins. The galaxy gasped. "How?" whispered a crystalline delegate. "They should be dead 100 times over," said another. "They fight, as if," an elder amphibian murmured, "as if the word they spoke was already victory." Back on Earth, cities stood silent, their people watching. In farms, in towers, in underground shelters, billions of humans whispered the same word, the same answer their ambassador had given. It was no longer just a reply. It was the very soul of their species. The enemy roared louder, hurling more of its endless swarm toward the humans. The battle became chaos, fire and shadow tearing through the void. Many human ships were lost, yet the line never broke. Where one fell, another rose. Where one failed, another succeeded. The council trembled. They could not understand. Every other race had cracked under the storm, but humanity burned brighter the more they were pressed. At the heart of the battle, the fortress ship unleashed its hidden weapon. The massive solar arrays it had fed for weeks focused into a single devastating beam. But instead of destroying one ship, the energy split, scattering into hundreds of lances, each striking perfectly into the weak points of the swarm. The enemy's advance faltered for the first time. A silence spread across the council chamber as they realized what they were witnessing. It was not luck. It was not madness. It was belief turned into action. The ember-skinned leader whispered almost to himself, "Their word. I finally understand." The humans pressed forward, their voices carried across comms, not just to each other but to the entire galaxy. Soldiers shouted it before charging, pilots cried it out as they struck impossible maneuvers. Civilians whispered it as they watched, their voices joining into a chorus that echoed across stars. The word, fight. That was the answer humanity had given. When others begged, they fought. When others surrendered, they fought. When others trembled in fear, humanity clenched its fists and moved forward. The council, once divided and broken, felt something stir in their hearts. Hope. For the first time they saw that perhaps survival was not impossible. Perhaps with Earth at the front, they too could rise again. One by one, their fleets rallied. Inspired by humanity's stand, they joined the battle, voices shouting the same word. Ships that once fled now returned to the storm. Together the galaxy began to fight. The enemy, endless and merciless, howled louder. But for the first time since its arrival, it met resistance that did not crumble. Humanity had given the galaxy more than ships, more than weapons. They had given it a single word, sharp as a blade, unshakable as stone. The battle raged on, but, in that moment, the outcome was already written. The galaxy would no longer cower. The galaxy would fight. And it was because one fragile species, born on a small blue world, had the courage to answer with a word that left everyone speechless.